So it looks like Mick Foley is looking for one more match. And Mick Foley being Mick Foley, he's not looking for 2 out of 3 falls. He's not looking for a standard match. He's not looking for even a cage match. Mick Foley is looking for a final death match. Now, Mick Foley is 58 years old right now. And for some reason, he wants to come back. I mean, people are aging better, they're doing well. Sting just retired over Sunday, 64 years old. His sons are out there giving people the Stinger splash.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So why shouldn't Mick Foley, I guess, come back and give it one more shot or not? Joining me here today, I got my good friend Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here. What's happening, man? Thank you for joining me with this one.
Absolutely. Anytime we talk or you talk wrestling, I want to try to be involved, especially with the deathmatch scene. So
I was just about to mention that you are a bit of a deathmatch connoisseur. Bringing Mick Foley back for a 2024, 2025. My understanding is he wants to drop some weight before he does it. What does that mean? What does Mick Foley in a death match mean in this current time? Not in the Mick Foley era, Hell in a Cell era, ECW era, barbed wire era, that New Japan kind of thing. What does it mean in 2024-25?
To me, I'll say this, and I'm going to be 100% honest. It's a definite moneymaker, no matter what. He's a name. And like I said, if we're not basing it, ECW, Japan, all that stuff, he's still a name.
Yeah.
And he's got that history. So I guarantee you it's going to be probably a small arena. I guarantee it probably won't be for AEW, probably be for something smaller. But I'm sure that building will sell the fuck out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that will be a pay-per-view event. It would be a huge thing if they would bring it to like OVW. It would be great to see him, under Al's promotion, doing it. Those guys still get pretty hardcore. We saw that in Wrestlers. Had a bit of a death match between Maria and Haley J.
Yeah.
With some glass, had a little color going. Let's get into the article, though.
Sure.
And this is from Yahoo. And it says, Mick Foley explains his reasoning behind wanting one more death match. This is from Matt Black, and this is from Saturday. So this is a few days old. Okay. But let's get into it. Mick Foley is really serious about having one more death match and is now explaining the reasoning behind it. WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley recently posted a clip of a video on Instagram being interviewed by Casey Hopkins. When asked why he's having one more death match, Foley said it's a motivation for him to get in shape. Okay, well, I'm going to get in shape to go through some barbed wire and some glass and some thumbtacks. Most people want to just get in shape, maybe run a 5K, 10K. I'm going to push and go all the way and do a marathon this year. Or maybe you're super crazy and do an ultra. This guy wants a death match. Quote, one day when I was really struggling, I realized that what used to be the best motivation for me was another match, Mick Foley said. So I always got in shape with the goal of having another match. Now, fast forward, my wrestling days are over. I've spent with 2 small occasions, all of that time since 1999, well over 300 pounds. Okay, so, maybe DDP can get a hold of this guy and talk some sense into him. I'm not sure I want to see a 60-year-old man in a death match.
Right.
And I got down on 3 different occasions below 300. And then I saw my weight really starting to get away from me. I thought maybe I need that same kind of motivation. And along the way, I can appreciate the lifestyle changes, eating differences, the exercise. Mick Foley believes one last match will lead to a healthier life long term. I haven't heard that before. There is no reason for somebody at my age and weight to not be exercising for 3 straight years. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you've asked in the airport if you need a wheelchair. It's embarrassing to be the guy who is bigger than the chair on the airline. I think it's something of a paradox that by competing in a death match, I will have a much better life. Now, Mick was never a musclehead. No. He was never a gym guy. He was never a Triple H or a Stone Cold or a Rock. I mean, the Rock is bigger now than ever.
Oh, God, yeah.
He was never a Cena. He's not a Brock Lesnar. Mick goes back to a much older day, in terms of the body shape and everything like that, which maybe was a bit of providence in helping him take some of these severe bumps.
Yeah, I remember a lot of wrestlers say the bigger that you are, like muscle wise, the easier it is to tear a muscle. And the fact that Mike, if you look at Mick, even when Mick was in his prime, he's kind of doughy. You know what I mean? He had the big butt, the big belly, and stuff like that. His arms were pretty skinny, but I think because not to sound funny, but because he had all that extra padding on his body, it would help him absorb the elbow drops that he did. All that stuff. The hits to the back and stuff like that. A lot better than, say, if The Rock was doing something like that, jumping off the.
I've heard people say you can pull a muscle, you can't pull fat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't pull fat. So there we are. Like that day or night is going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but the lesson I learned leading up to that match are lessons I intend to carry forward for the rest of my life if he lives. To me, the difference between being a grandfather someday who can crawl on the ground and play with their children, or a grandfather who sits and watches from the sidelines. I'm not sure Mick is thinking this through.
No.
And I don't want to be that guy sitting on the sidelines. I know having a wild match involving barbed wire and thumbtacks, we're going to bring in a bed of nails. But these are going to be the tools of life for Dad. Catharsis. When asked what he's looking forward to the most after a long pause, Foley said it was catharsis. Catharsis. I'm just looking for catharsis, Mick Foley admitted. As odd as it sounds in Japan, the fans are described as being oddly peaceful when they would leave because they had seen something. And when it's done right, it can work it could be a work of abstract art. Some people will just see human beings putting each other into terribly inhumane situations. And because that's technically what's happening, I can see why. While others will see two human beings working together to create surreal art. Okay, that's maybe a stretch. And so I'm hoping when it's done, there will be a sense of peace among the fans and a sense of inner peace for myself, even as my wounds stick to the sheets that night and for a few nights. As Mick heads to divorce court. Yeah.
He's still got away with words. I got to give him that,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to come out of that situation in worse shape than I was, but I believe I will pick up habits that are going to lead to a longer, better life, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. What do you make of Mick Foley's comments?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with that, man? I mean, this guy's I love Mick Foley.
I do too.
Have a Nice Day is one of the best books I've ever read. I love Have a Nice Day.
I've got all 4 of his autobiographies right up there. He's got 4 books.
I've only read Have a Nice Day, so I've got to get to the others.
Yeah,
I've got to get to the others.
There's Have a Nice Day, then there's Foley is Good.
I haven't read that one. I know I can buy it for like a penny now.
Yeah. Next is the Hardcore Diaries, and then is Countdown to Lockdown, a Hardcore Journal. So he's only written up to his time in TNA. So, but still, that's a hell of a lot of stuff to write about.
I get the impression that, like, I have Audible, so like sometimes on the way to work I'll listen. I get this isn't that I'll like drive, because I remember Foley, like, Have a Nice Day had me like crying. I was laughing so hard. So I don't think I want to do that while I'm driving. It's Friday morning.
You don't want Audible because he's got so many pictures. He's got so many still frames from his home movies, personal pictures that you won't get with Audible. So I think you'll want, if not a paperback, you'll want to find a cheap hardcover.
You can get it for like a penny on Amazon.
And I want to give him 100% respect because he wrote at least the first one, pen and paper.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. All right. So, do you want to see Mick Foley in a? I mean, that's the question. Because I'm not gonna set it up for you. Bottom line, do you want to see Mick Foley in a death match? And who the hell would he fight?
Okay, you know me. Like I said, I'm in the circle of the deathmatch stuff. And I'm torn. You know what I mean? I'm torn because I never saw a death match of Foley in his prime. It was always on videotape. I didn't know who Mick Foley was or get to see him until he was 96 and he was Mankind. You know, I didn't get to see the Cactus Jack stuff until they did like the whole let's tell the story of Mick Foley type of stuff. And I wasn't at ECW or watching ECW at that time. I'm torn because I don't want to see a Mick Foley in his 60s who has replaced hips, who has replaced knees, who you definitely know has CTE. Yeah. I don't want to see that Mick Foley in a death match. And here's the thing as well. As a death match fan, is it going to be a air quotes good death match or is it going to be an air quotes bad death match? What can Mick really do? He's not going to take a chair shot to the head. I guarantee you that's out. Is he going to do thumbtacks? Probably. Yeah. Barbed wire board? Probably. He might go through a table. He might go through some doors. If Sting can go through a pane of glass, Mick Foley's going to do that. So it seems like he's still going to be very limited, and that in the deathmatch circle, we want to see the violence, the blood and guts. You know what I mean? We want to see the craziness, and I don't know if Mick will live up to the hype. I hate to say it. But then again, I don't know if it's
bastard. I'll be honest. Go ahead. God, I'm sorry. I don't know.
He also wants to lose 100 pounds, and he's using a death match to motivate him to lose weight. That is the wrong type of motivation because what if, God forbid, something does happen? Yeah. They do. They really do. You can hurt yourself just in a regular wrestling match. You know what I mean? You get like David Arquette. David Arquette did a death match once with Nick Gage. Nick Gage is a huge name in the death match world. They showed it on Dark Side of the Ring. Nick was, he had a light tube on David, and Nick tripped, and it broke, and it accidentally cut David on the neck. David broke, kayfabe. They finished the match, and he went straight to the hospital. Accidents happen. David is 20 years younger than Mick, a hell of a lot more healthy, athletically, at least it looks, than Mick. I'm afraid to see that type of thing possibly happen.
I don't see how the world needs this.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I don't see how Mick needs this, except Mick in his mind, I think, misses wrestling.
Here's what happened. Back in December, I'm wearing an ICW No Holds Barred hat. I've told you about these guys before. Back in December, I think they were in Jersey, and Mick Foley did an appearance at one of their shows. Okay. It was a death match. They have intergender death matches. The guy was getting, beating up the girl. It's December. Mick Foley loves Christmas. The fucker came out as Santa Claus, beat up the bad guy, took off the beard. Mick Foley, you couldn't hear a single thing. The room exploded. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was watching on my computer, my speakers were kind of blowing out because of how huge. Like, this is Mick Foley involved in a death match. He hit the guy over the head with the light tubes. The girl wins, and then he cuts a real fun promo like Mick only does. I think the adrenaline got to him, and I think he wanted to be part of this because he used to get blown up and all that shit in Japan. So I think it was just feeling like, maybe I could do this one more time. If he gets the right person, he thinks maybe they can have a good death match. I don't want to see him like when he says that I want to be able to be a grandpa and play with my kid. I think your priorities are wrong, Mick. It's not worth it.
How a death match is not going to make you a good grand. Like, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. Like, getting in shape is a good motivation to be like, I want to be able to lift my grandchildren in the air. Yes. When they come of age in 5-10 years, when my kids, have kids, I want to be strong enough and my body's healthy enough to, lift them in the air. There's a great commercial about that I've seen where it's this old man and he finds a kettlebell like in his garage, and he starts doing all these exercises, and like, I guess he lives in like an older neighborhood, and all the other older people like, what the hell's he doing? And then it's been like 6 months or however long it's been, and his granddaughter is coming to visit. And so when she runs to him, he picks her up. Right. Grandpa didn't go through a death match though.
Here's also the thing: unless it is an AEW, which who knows, it could happen. Who cares? Because Nick Gage has been on it. You've seen the guys go through glass. With CM Punk and Luke Perry's kid Jack. Jungle Boy. They did some deathmatch type stuff. If it's not Tony Khan paying him, he's not going to make dick when it comes to money.
No, Al's not going to be able to pay him.
No, and Al will tell him he's stupid because Al doesn't like death matches.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think Al will pay his friend Mick Foley to do this to himself.
Yeah,
and then because Al will feel responsible.
Yeah.
So, it would.
The world doesn't need this one.
Look at Terry Funk. Terry Funk could barely walk when he was in the WWF, just doing the hardcore stuff. There's a difference between hardcore wrestling and death matching. Hardcore is like ECW, or to a lesser extent like the WWE shit, with Crash Holly and and Steve Blackman. These deathmatch guys, there is no limit. Do you think Mick Foley's going to take a light tube across the head? Doubt it. He might. But he won't gain anything from it.
No, there's no benefit to this whatsoever. Obviously, Triple H, WWE is not going to have a death match for Mick Foley.
No.
They want nothing to do with anything like that. That's not what they do. It's about as far away from as what they do now as you could ever imagine. You might have AEW or TNA. But I don't see them paying him very much.
I guarantee you, let's just say stars align, it does happen. I guarantee you it'll be for a deathmatch federation, whether it's GCW or ICW, NHB
And I'm not a deathmatch fan. So we get that right. I remember, you trying to get me to watch some of that on IWTV, and I saw that glass tube break and miss that guy's eye. I don't remember who it was, but he missed the guy's eye by
it's not for everybody.
Centimeters, and I'm like, I can't watch this.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah,
and the thing is, again, Mick has nothing to. Mick has legendary status. You know what I mean?
Mick is royalty in almost every aspect of the sport.
Right.
Whether it's mainstream, whether it's hardcore, whether it's deathmatch, Mick Foley is just wrestling royalty. He's one of the few who could say that.
Right.
The Hogans, the Flairs, even Sting, it doesn't expand that way. Within their niche, but it's narrow and deep. Foley has been everywhere and done everything.
And another thing I'm worried about, let's just say, you asked who it would be against. Well, they're dropping hints. There is a deathmatch wrestler by the name of Matt Tremont, and he's wrestled in every single fucking deathmatch promotion that there is. He came out one day, and he had a 2025 date on his T-shirt, and he literally looks at the camera and goes, bang, bang. So, and I think that would be like a year from next month.
Well, see, and what this reminds me of is Flair's last match. I'm already thinking of Flair's last match.
I was just going to say that. What if this death match that he does is an embarrassment?
It's a dud.
Will he want to do another one? Yeah. Because Flair is already saying, oh, I didn't like that one. I want to do another one. Will Mick Foley do it? Maybe.
No, you see how Flair is my all-time GOAT, in terms of the wrestling, maybe not in terms as a person. You hear stories, this, that, and the other.
Right.
But just an all-time favorite wrestler. I don't want to see him do anymore. But I saw the way he was moving on Sunday.
Yeah.
And he's 74. He's fucking 74. Sometimes it's okay to be 74, And
I'm worried about, Mick might not show it. Let's just say he does do the death match. He might not show it during the match itself, but I don't want to be around him when that adrenaline wears off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What Mick needs is an office job.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be around it. I totally get it. You want to be around it. You got to be around it. I get it, but not this way.
His son was a writer for WWE for a long time. So, I'm sure, favors can be done. If he wants to get a booker job, I'm sure there is any federation that would welcome him.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't work for them ever, any federation would claw at the bit to have Mick Foley involved in their federation.
Yeah. or like the locker room guy.
Yeah, locker room leader.
Yeah, the locker room leader, that sort of thing. Everybody just worships the guy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best to ever do it.
Look like put him in a role like William Regal is on like NXT.
Yeah,
that would be perfect. He helps mold the newer group. The new class. He can be on TV once a month for 5 minutes, if that, so he can still get his TV time.
Yeah.
But it's mainly behind the scenes, finding these new stars, grooming them, helping them with what they need help with. Mick can help with a promo like that.
Yeah.
He'd be a great way to help someone with a promo, and then he could just move on to the next person. And then that way he's still involved.
Yeah.
But his body doesn't have to take any punishment. Maybe he shows up and confronts somebody and they kick him in the face.
Takes a cheap shot,
or something like
shot to the balls or something like that,
And then he gives him the mandible claw, and then everything's fine. He gets his little moment, and then he goes back to being behind the scenes. I'd rather that happen than him get seriously injured, because like I said, these deathmatch guys, it's no joke. And what if one of the guys is a little too excited because they're like, I'm against Mick Foley? You know what I mean?
Right.
What if nerves get to these guys? And that's what also causes the accidents.
I hate to say it, it's not the highest levels of professionalism. It doesn't come off that way to me, at least. All right, so I mean, I think we've reached consensus here. I'm not a person that advocates for consensus. Everybody has their own point of view, but I think we're in agreement here. This is something that does not need to happen.
Yeah, and I'm saying that as a deathmatch fan, I'd rather Mick be happy, healthy, and lose the weight for the right reasons, or have the right reasons. Use your future grandkid as the motivation, not getting in the ring and possibly getting seriously injured.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up here. I think you said what needs to be said. My thanks to Hey Internet Eric here. Eric, thank you very much for joining me. The link to your channel is going to be in the description. I've got a video coming up tomorrow, probably, for UFC 299. I'm going to be doing the predictions for that match as I run down the main card for all the fights and what's going on with that. And then next week, I've opened up a second channel for Werewolf. It's just called Werewolf Goes Live. And we'll be here next week, episode 219 now. I'm going to be doing the live streams over there. And we're going to be doing Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I just found out he has a daughter that's now directing. David Cronenberg does.
Oh, really? Okay, All right, well, send me a name or something like that.
I'll do that once we get off here. But yeah, I'm ready to talk some more Brandon Cronenberg.
That's going to be a good one. All right, we will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.